Welcome to the Texas Truck Channel podcast. I'm Craig,
And I'm Brian.
and we think this is episode 39. It could be 38, it could be 40. I don't know. It's probably 39, but you'll let us know if we're wrong. Before that, though, Brian, or before we get into anything, Brian, we have a special word from our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Manual Transmissions, helping you go slower to 0 to 60 and get less fuel mileage. But 3 pedals is always better than 2. All right, Brian, tonight's podcast, we're going to get into the top 5, drum roll please, we've been waiting for this, not crossovers, not SUVs. Brian, we're the Texas Truck Channel. What are we going to talk about tonight?
That's about damn time we talk about some trucks. Let's
You
go.
dang right. It's the top 5 trucks, pickup trucks, real trucks. Ooh, real trucks. We'll get into that in a second. Trucks of 2023, and it doesn't necessarily mean it had to be a 23 model, but it does mean we had to review it or drive it or have some sort of interaction with it in 2023. And we've got a good list here, Brian. I want to ask you this first.
Okay.
Were Ridgelines or Ford Mavericks eligible, or Santa Cruzes?
They were not according to you. Not according to me per se, although we ended up agreeing at the end of the day. So the main reason why is because it's so competitive. We just had to move on. We couldn't sit there and keep arguing about it because we had so many other real trucks. I'm quoting actually real trucks, full frame trucks that just made the cut. So that made it work. So yeah. No, the Crux or the unibody front wheel drive based platform trucks didn't make the cut.
Yeah, exactly. It was just kind of worked out that way. We did kind of cuss and discuss it off air, and in our back and forth text threads and in person. It may have taken some of our Christmas conversations, but yeah, we had some fun going over that. And Brian, we've got a heck of a list that you're right. There's a lot of competition out there. We had to whittle it down to these 5, and it was hard to do. Just kind of like the SUV list and the crossover list, really. There's just so many good things out there, and we got our hands on everything last year, from 3/4 tons to full tons to mid-size to the quote-unquote not trucks.
To dualies to super trucks. I mean, everything, hybrids.
And we tested them. We towed stuff. We even had EVs. We towed stuff with EVs. We took things to off-road parks. We took things up hill test. We took things in the ice, snow, whatever. We did a lot with all these trucks. Brian, we even bought one.
Yeah, we did. We absolutely did.
So, and we'll reveal which one. Well, y'all already know which one that is, but
yeah, it comes into play here, though.
It comes into play. We'll just say it made the list. But Brian, I guess we'll just dive right into it. Number 5 on the. Oh, go ahead.
Well, hold on. Do we want to do the honorable mention like we did last time? Because there's.
Oh, go for it. Go ahead. Yeah. What are our honorable mentions? Go for it.
I'm going to tell you what didn't make the list because our lists were actually closer than when you would think. And there's actually, I'm going back in our text directory. I'm looking right now. There's only one vehicle that did not make our list because the way we do this, viewers, is we each come up with our own short list of about 6 or 7, and then we see what we match on and we hash out what that is. And there's a few that are left on the sideline. There's only one that we didn't both nominate for our top 5, and that's the Ford Maverick. Yeah, and that brought up the real truck thing, and you made a line in the sand. This is not a real truck, and part of that's because we brought this up with low-range transfer cases and or full frames on SUVs versus CUVs. And your argument was that the Maverick is probably closer to a CUV than it is an SUV if it had to be in that category. So in the truck world, maybe this isn't a truck, and there's not enough to have a urban truck, car-based truck category. So
yeah, if you did a crossover truck list, we'd have 3 contenders, and they'd be the top 3, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to make a list there. So I get that. That's fair. Although there's one vehicle on our top 5 I would trade for the Maverick, personally, but I don't disagree with our selection and choices here. So I think it's okay. Let's just get into it at the end of the list. I'll tell you which one I think I would trade the Maverick for if it were just for me exclusively.
And to be fair, and with all apologies to the Ridgeline, the Santa Cruz, and the Maverick, I will say, if we had that little list, I think the Maverick would have beat those other two, and
Yeah,
just because of
agreed.
the packaging and pricing.
Yep, and
It's a
price
home
is
run.
such a big
It's
deal.
an
It's like the only affordable compact truck on the market. The end.
it's
It just
absolutely a
is.
home run. It has more space in the interior than some midsiders that didn't make this list, and it's just got the functionality. It does work for what most people want to do with trucks. Some would argue that a Ridgeline's better, maybe in value, because it's bigger. I don't look. Here's my problem with the Ridgeline: you get in the rear seat and it's tight, and
Yeah,
the
not
Maverick's
a
not.
Maverick.
It's unbelievable how spacious the Maverick is. So yeah,
Yeah,
so all
yeah, it's
apologies to
wild.
those guys.
All right, and that's the short list, Craig. That's it. We can get
Okay,
into
that's
it.
it. Well, we'll get into number 5 on the top trucks of 2023 for Texas Truck Channel. Run number 5, all new, all redesigned, but and it does have a twin or a sister out there or a cousin in the stable, but we're going to go with specifically the Chevy Colorado instead of the GMC Canyon. Maybe we
Yep.
can just start. Maybe we just start there. Do you want to just start there? Why we went with the Colorado instead of the Canyon?
Yeah, for me, it's going to be like a lot of things. It's going to be price and also availability. So, availability and attainability are big deals to me because we live in an era where we're just coming out of this dealers marking things up exclusively and extremely. And it's like, look, what's the vehicle you can go down and buy? Well, if you're in a budget, the GMC Canyon gives you less options in the range of price compared to the Colorado. And then the Colorado also has all the top end stuff the GMC can offer as well. So if you go all the way up to the Zero Two, it's just as luxurious as the AT4X is with GMC. There's just lower trims available and more options with powertrain and power ratings and things like that. I think that's why I chose Colorado over the Canyon if we had to pick one of the two, just because availability and attainability by more people.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I'll tell you my one reason is because we did get our hands on a Canyon Denali this year,
Hmm. Oh,
and
okay.
I'm
I
sorry,
know where you're going. Yeah,
Denali's supposed to be upgraded, premium, and it's supposed to be differentiated from the normal run of the mill trims, right?
yeah,
And we get the Denali, and it's still on the top of the windowsill. It's still hard plastic, just like the Colorado. And I think I complained to you, I'm like, what's the point of getting this? There's 0 point
yeah,
because it's not any more luxurious than the Colorado. And basically, it's what you already said. The Colorado is just more of a bargain across every trim level compared to the GMC. And that's the bottom line.
yeah. That's the bottom line. And like you said, we had two Canyons and we had two Colorados this year.
Yep.
And the canyons didn't feel any better whatsoever. It wasn't like you went, man, I spent
No,
4 or 5 grand more and it feels nicer. No, it's designed differently, and the color palettes were nicer. I'll agree with that. The color palettes
that's true.
were better, but material choice was still like kind of not very good.
No.
Um, and my biggest problem too is when you slap Denali on there, and now it's $53,000. It literally has wheels off an SLE GMC full size truck. Like it's not even like a dedicated wheel. It's just a and it didn't match. Like nothing made sense with it. We had rattles going on, things like that. It's not a terrible truck, but for the money, you can get a loaded Colorado Zero too. And I'm like, okay, so there is a
Eh,
value equation
yeah.
with the Colorado that's worth it.
Eh, And that was the problem. And so, Brian, let's talk to like all these. We'll talk about our favorite trim and package. Um, my favorite trim and package. Well, before we get into that, all new redesign.
Yep.
This thing is a good redesign. GM did not mail in the redesign. I'll give them credit for that. They did their homework. It's a very capable unit. It's got a look. The engine doesn't make good noises, but it's a great powertrain. It's a 2.7, yeah, 2.7 turbo 4 cylinder paired with the 8 speed that's been updated.
Yep.
Works quite
And
well.
yeah, credit. It is updated. It doesn't give us the slipping torque converter thing of the
Nope.
old generation that we experienced. It was better for sure.
And we towed with this a fairly heavy load, quite a pretty good distance at one point with one of the Colorados we had, and you didn't even know it was what we were towing was back there.
Yeah.
It did great. In fact, it has one of the highest tow ratings out of the midsize market. I think 8,000 pounds. That's really good.
That's
So
up there, yeah. No, it's a
yeah,
good as far as and this is true to all GM pickups. It's a good truck. Like, it does all the truck stuff you need it to do, and, I think that the trim package is kind of impressive as the Trail Boss, even though I liked it the least because the interior was so sparse. But you get, like, the wide track footprint. Axles are wider and that kind of stuff. You get the G80 locker, which is not perfect, but it gets the job done, and you get a ton of ground clearance to go with it. So, there's a might be the best value midsize off roader, and then it goes all the way up to everything to, like you said earlier, to ZR2. So it's like, the Colorado's got a lot to offer, I think.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the G80 locker. That's another thing we liked about this. When we had fun with all these, we had the Zero Two that had basically triple locked, right?
Yep.
Um,
Hmm.
but then we also had just the Colorado Trail Boss that has standard, like every GM product, with the G80 locker. And look, it works, especially if you know how to drive it and actually give it a little bit of throttle to get it to engage.
Right.
It it's a really good solution. It really is. It's
It
better than
is.
nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it certainly
So
is, and it's way better than any vehicle that's like, "Oh, we've got brake force," like distribution. Like, no, no, the a G80 locker will lock if you know how to use it, and it will
yeah,
get you through the obstacle, and it did. We took it to an off-road park. Um, our only issue with the non-zero 2 is the air dam is super low, and we scuffed it on something, and, that's kind of a letdown for an off-road truck, but it was easy to live with, it was comfortable, and it was quick and all that stuff. We actually took the ZR2 on an off-road race circuit. We had an episode on that up in Eagles Canyon. We got air with it. We played with the lockers. We did everything, and it's my only letdown was the 8-speed didn't give you a motorsport style mode where you could hold gears, but that's kind of it. It handled itself
yeah.
very well on course. I was impressed.
Mhm. Brian, so let's go ahead and get into our favorite trims. Your favorite trim, I'm sure, was the ZR2.
Hmm. Yep. No
Mine
question.
was the Trail Boss. I like the Trail Boss because it's such a value. I think they can be had for just under 40,
Yeah,
uh,
that's all
38-ish.
impressive.
That's like you're getting a lot of truck in the Trail Bosses. You get the wider track. You don't really get any other off-road goodies necessarily. Maybe some lift. I'm not sure.
It's
Um,
a two. Yeah, it's a 2-inch lift, and it's three
okay.
inches wider.
And so when you actually get out on the trail with that, that helps a lot. This is a very capable off-road vehicle in the midsize market for 38 grand. You're getting a truck that can do a lot, and that was impressive. Now, Brian, you didn't like the black that was just thrown up everywhere on the exterior and the interior. Just
Yeah.
hard plastic black everywhere.
Well,
Um, and that's
it's
fair.
yeah, thank you for not trying to be contrarian there. I was gonna just call you a bold-faced liar if you did that. It's not a nice place to spend time. Not that GM can't do good interiors, they just chose not to here. They built to a price, and full credit, it's cheap and super capable. I value it for that. What I don't value is no option to vary the die they use on that panel to at least give some depth to the field. Um, and the other spot that I don't give it an excuse for, and here's the only reason, not the only, but the main reason that pushed me to the Zero Two, Craig, is you cannot get a Trail Boss with a telescoping steering wheel. And the
That's a
steering
good
wheel is
point.
way too far away. I got as far as going, how much is the steering column? Can I change it on my own? Not that easy, not that cheap. And in order to get a telescoping steering wheel, you're within about 5 grand of the ZR2 anyways, when you get to the mid-level trims that offer that. And so I'm like, well, just go ahead and push all the way. If it's got to be Colorado, make it ZR2. If it were
That
for
is a
me.
good point. And
So,
look, we didn't get our hands on the Zero Two AEV Bison, but we cannot wait until we do. We will, I'm
oh
sure,
man,
this year.
yeah. Yeah.
But the Zero Two alone run is stupid capable. And you get all the skid plates, you get all the approach angles, you got pretty beefy tires, you got the front and rear lockers, you got the multimatics. It's
Yeah.
really an awesome rig. I mean, that is it is hard to beat, and it's actually pretty good value itself because I think it's the high 40s. I think you can get that sucker for,
It's
maybe mid
50,
40s.
it's low 50s. It's
Okay,
52, I believe. But I'm sure there's some cash on the hood pretty soon because the market's correcting, since we
yeah,
reviewed
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So it'll probably
So
correct a little bit. The other thing too, on all of them, the turbo sounds awesome from the outside. It's
it
yeah.
does, and yes, and it's a fun turbo. I like that motor, especially in the midsize package. I don't know about the full size package, but I love it in this package. And it's like what GM does in a lot of things. They put a really good motor in their things and try to challenge everyone else in the market to beat their horsepower. Thank you. Keep doing that.
Yeah,
We
I'm
like
okay
that.
with that. No complaints
So,
there. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
All right, Brian, with that, let's move on to number 4. Number 4 on our list is, well, Brian, you won't believe it. It's another GM. Well, you will believe it because you helped me make the list, but
Yeah.
no one else will believe it. We got 2 GMs back to back. Brian, we're going with the bow tie package again. I can't believe it.
Mhm. Yeah,
I used to be Mr. GMC over bow tie, but we got our hands on a Chevy Silverado 2500 LTZ package this year, Brian, and it was just the Goldilocks of 3/4 ton trucks, as far as I'm concerned. In fact,
same. Yep.
this is our only 3/4 ton truck that made the list, believe it or not.
Yeah,
And we
and
drove,
let me look, we drove all of them. Yeah, we drove the
yeah, drove all of
Rams,
them.
the Rebels, the F-350s, the dualies from Ford, and all this
Yep,
stuff. The gases from Ford too, which we're big fans of.
yep,
Look, here's the deal: the F-250 didn't make this list. The Ram 2500 did not make this list,
nope.
and I am not a diesel person. We know this. Also, you'll notice in this, well, just our general picks in life, we don't default to the biggest, heaviest duty truck because those are hard to live with. Like those are fun when you're playing Tonka truck as a kid, or you're
Mhm.
like trying to find your manhood or something. And you need to have a tool to help you. I don't know,
Or you got a
but
flat bill hat.
yeah, that's what I just said. Yeah, I just said that. So, but the point being, or if you legitimately work with them every day, I don't want to exclude those people.
That's
There
true.
are
That's
guys that
fair.
need them, but for a lot of people that are looking at these trucks, they don't really need them. So you and I kind of discard them because it's not for everybody. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
This is a truck that I would buy, I would make payments on, and be happy about it, and daily
Yes.
this thing. It's the
Yes.
only 3/4 ton I thought I could see myself owning for me. And part of it's the pop old man interior but it wasn't beige, it was gray, and it had
Yeah.
like depth of field. This is where GM goes the opposite way of the Trailbox Colorado. They did an incredible job. The fit and
Yeah.
finish was amazing.
It
We
was.
had this truck in GMC flavor not a month before we had this one, and they felt like completely different experiences. The shock tuning was a little bit different, but it was mostly the comfort level of it and the fact that it had nothing to prove optically. There was no brodozerness to it. There was no look at me and my grill. It was just I'm a good truck. I'm here to do whatever needs to be done, and that's it. Go about my way. And I love it for that.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. We had I think it was red with the old man interior, like you said,
Yep.
and not too ostentatious wheels, but not basic. It was 4-wheel drive. It was just a mature looking truck.
Yeah.
No gimmicks. We didn't go with any ZR2 models here, even though you can get that now in the 3/4 ton. We didn't go with a high country. We didn't go with the base model, although we found ourselves building and pricing a lot of base models when we had this because there's some value in this Silverado 2500 package.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, Brian, we were picking the diesel in this. Yes, you and I don't like diesels. We usually just call each other and complain about them because, to be fair, we don't have a need for them.
We don't need them in our daily life. We don't have toys or tools that need to be towed routinely where we can't
We
just handle it with the
recognize
gas. Yeah.
people do. We just
Yes, of
personally don't.
course. Of course.
But we picked this diesel anyways because I don't know about you. When I had it in my time, I drove a pretty fair long distance because it was in the middle of football season and Friday night lights. And when you're in
Mhm.
small rural Texas, well, big Texas, rural towns. Anyways,
Uh-huh.
you do a lot of driving. We call it the Friday night Texas road trip, and we were fortunate enough to have this during that time, and it ate up the miles with aplomb. It was comfortable. It was quiet. My wife doesn't like diesels. She doesn't like 3/4 tons. Even she was like, she doesn't like Chevys. Uh,
This is true. Her
like
personal
you and I like
preference is
whatever.
not
We don't really
GM.
care, especially
Yeah.
where we drive them. She doesn't like GM, and she especially doesn't like Chevy. She loved this truck.
Yeah.
I love this truck. It was just so comfortable. It got good mileage. It rode well. It was great. There's just really nothing
Yeah.
to complain about. And every
And
other 3/4 ton we had, there's something to complain about. This one, there's nothing to complain about. That's really it.
that's it. And look, those are all of our subjectives. I want to give the objective to this. And here's the objective why I prefer it over its competitors in the 3/4 ton fleet. Um, Number one, the steering. It's not a live axle, and it pays dividends for that. It's a rack and pinion, and you're not making constant micro adjustments while you're driving on the highway. Love that. 2, the ride quality, not as good as a coil spring on the Ram, but much better mannered in its body control than the Ram, and road they both ride better than the F250, generally speaking, because the 250 is just kind of got a heavy spring on it. And then lastly, this Duramax is super refined. It's been out for 20 years, and they have just been whittling away, making it better and better every generation, and it shows. You start it up, there's no weirdness to it, there's no excessive clatter, and it makes good power, it has great tuning. I just there's very little drawbacks for the diesel stuff we usually get annoyed by. So, big props.
Yeah, and we've talked about this on another podcast. What they've done with this diesel is they've done the Toyota thing where they come out with one thing that was pretty good to begin with, and they've just refined it over time. And
Oh, yeah.
look, Ram and Ford, more so Ford, has had some issues with their diesels over the years. Chevy just really hasn't had major problems with any of the Duramaxes. Like it's like pick one and just go get it. Drive it.
Yeah.
Do what you want with it. Anyways, all right, Brian. Let's move on to number
Oh,
3. Oh,
speaking of
you got more?
refinement, yeah, speaking of
Okay.
refinement, let's go to number
I
3.
don't know about that, but number 3, Brian, is well, it's the vehicle we ended up purchasing.
Yeah.
We ended up purchasing a Jeep Gladiator. Yes, I hope you're as shocked as we are because who knew we would have done that? Who knew we would have liked it so much we even put it third on our
Yeah.
list? And Brian, well, just dive into how did it make number 3? What is happening here? How is this possible? Jeep struggle selling in them. They would like to know how they made it because they can't sell them. So what's going on here?
Right. Yeah, well, that is an anomaly. They've had trouble selling them compared to the Wrangler for a while, but now they're having trouble selling everything they make for some reason.
That's
Um,
true.
so we took advantage of that and bought one $10,000 under. So when you start to talk about a truck for $30,000, it's in a category of it and the Maverick. That's it.
Yeah,
Um,
good point.
yeah, the only difference is that this can do, like you said earlier, real truck stuff. It has a full frame. It's got the rear axle from a Ram behind it. It's got an available manual transmission. It has multiple powertrain options. We chose the V6 because we wanted a manual, but you can get a diesel with it if you want to and tow all kinds of stuff. It can still off-road better than any truck, I think, on the market. I think it's fair,
Yeah,
at least in
that's
terms of
a
rock crawling.
that's oh yeah for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously Baja stuff that's faster off-road, but anything that wants to go do serious off-roading, there is not a more capable off-road truck. There just isn't.
Mm.
Um,
Especially in the base package.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Good point. I mean, obviously, you can go, there's other options, but this is, look, we've taken this thing to the Ozarks. We've had it to Oklahoma a couple times. We've had it to Houston. We just changed the oil on it today, Craig. We bought it 9 weeks ago and we're at 6,000 miles. That's how much we've enjoyed it.
That's
it's,
insane. And you and
it's
I have
insane.
vehicles to drive all the time. It's hard for us to put miles on one vehicle like that.
I
So
know.
yeah.
Look, I've had the Hyundai Craig for a year and a half, and I've put, I think, the same mileage on it, and you put most of that on there when you were commuting with it for a little bit. Like
Yeah.
that's
But
insane.
Brian, the reason we've done that is because
It's
we
good.
got a strip model. It's
Yep.
back to basics. I just
Yes.
think
Yes.
selfishly, you and I have been we drive all these new vehicles. We miss manual windows, manual transmission,
Yep.
manual mirrors, manual everything,
No
and
lane
it's
keep. No camera
yes.
systems watching. Oh, you're distracted. You're not looking
Yeah,
forward. It's beeping at you and all this kind of
so I
crap. But
think
just
that refreshment that we're getting and finding there, I think our souls needed that. One and two,
yeah.
because it's so capable and you can actually go off-roading with it and also carry people and all your gear because it's got a freaking pickup bed.
Yeah, and a massive cab too. It has more
Yeah.
room than anything in its more than the Colorado Canyon, that's for sure. It
All
just
of a sudden
has,
you're like, "Hey, we can take this thing places because it can do everything." And
yeah,
that's what we've done with it. So,
it's been awesome. And look, little teaser here. It may be leaving us here very soon because we have something else coming in its place. And I am extremely sad about it. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle this yet. So I keep scheming. How do we just add something else and keep this here? Because I really like it. It's just
eh,
been super
yeah,
refreshing.
it
Good
really
rig.
has. And again, yeah, you take a base midsize of any other brand, compare it to a base Gladiator, and the Gladiator's just going to leave it on the trail. The trail all the other base models will just be stuck somewhere in the glider. Like, okay, well, I'm going to keep going. See you later.
Yeah, that's what'll happen completely, and
So
it's just look, your trail boss at such a good value you were talking about, this was $10,000 cheaper than that,
it's
and
crazy.
the interior is nicer than that, I think. I think the
Yeah.
design is nicer than it. Because it look, this was redone in was it 2018 when the JLs came out? They did such a good job staying true to because it's look, Jeeps are limited. They can't like
Hmm.
revamp it and make it look like a transformer. It has to look like an army Jeep from World War II a little bit. And they did
Hmm.
a good job of staying true to that and making it modern. I'm comfortable in it. You're comfortable in it. The kids are comfy in it. Our wives are comfy in it. It just does so much for the money. I think for that reason
Hmm.
alone, it had to make the list. Who knew it was going to beat out two others that are very great rigs? So
And others that didn't even make the list. Brian, because
several.
now we've got to move into the top two. And believe it or not, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil some things here.
Uh oh.
You're not going to find two brands on this list that you may have expected. Um,
Okay.
there's not going to be a Toyota, which they had the Tundra,
Yeah.
all kinds of Tundras we
Yeah.
you think would have made the list, but to be fair, the Tacoma's not out yet, the new one.
Right. We're
The,
holding that back for reservation because that's to come
yeah,
soon when we actually get to drive it. Yeah.
Nissan Frontier did come out, did have some new models come out, some new trims come out. It didn't make the list, and I'm just going to tell you for one reason: the back seats suck. That's what's out. It's
Yeah.
just out.
Well, look,
Um,
it's an old architecture that you and I are totally fine with. That's not the problem. We're a fan of that old
yeah,
architecture that it's on. It's a good,
yeah,
viable truck as long as you don't need back seats.
yeah.
That's
I
it.
wouldn't have
Yeah.
taken on any of these trips we talked about because no one could ride in the back. So,
Now you just unbolt the seats and then store things. That's really what it's for.
and that's fine if you want to do that. But
Yeah.
Brian, so that leaves one brand left, and this will not shock people. So coming at number two, let's repeat where we're at, so people know. Number five, Colorado. Number four, Silverado, specifically 2500. Even more specifically, LTZ trim. Number three, any Jeep Gladiator, just get one.
Yeah.
We
Whatever you can
did
afford
do
and
what we
want,
did.
do it. Yep.
Number two, the Ford Ranger, and y'all all might be saying, "Wait a minute, have you driven the new Ranger?" The answer is no. That's not the one we're talking about. We're talking about yes, the old ancient one.
Speaking of
Um,
old architecture.
he's speaking of old architecture. Maybe this shouldn't surprise you because our SUV top five list, we had a lot of old models on there. And Brian, this model's basically been out since when? 2012 in the rest of the globe or something like that.
2013 for the rest of the world and 2019 for us was the first year of it in the States.
Yeah,
But as a chassis, it's been out in existence that since 13,
yeah, you're at
which
a,
is
it's a 10-year-old chassis.
yep,
Um, and look, we would probably take it because of Ford's packaging. You can get a base model with a locker. It's
right.
wonderful.
Thank you for
But
that.
Brian, we're going to talk about the Ranger trimmer, and the reason it keeps coming back up is because it's still a good value. It's a
Yep.
proven platform. It still has payload, even though it has Fox shocks and has I kid you not, the best ride and drive of any vehicle we may have driven, period.
Yeah, well, at least in your neighborhood, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You have specific roads, but I'll also agree with you. I think it rides and drives just really, really well. It's shocking how good it was, and it takes speed off road really well. And the ergonomics, even though it's a 10-year-old interior design, it's got that kind of Euro design that Ford was doing in the early teens, which
Mhm.
I'm a fan of personally, but it's not for everybody. The ergonomics are rock solid. You get in there and you go, "Oh, that's where that should be." You put your hand down. That's where the shifter's right where it should be. Things like that are really solid in that thing that some other brands still struggle with. And look, before we hang up on the 10-year-old architecture and chassis, that's 9 years newer in terms of architecture than the current Frontier is. So, it's not the oldest one in the room. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, and fair enough. And unlike the Frontier, I'm going to go to the kind of like we did on the SUV list. I'm going to go to the what's available in the rest of the globe. Brian, you can get this platform in Australia and the Middle East and all that.
Mm,
This
mhm.
platform exists over there, which means you can get ARB accessories and other things like that for this platform because it's been in Australia for a long time. The Frontier is not the same platform in Australia that they sell here.
Oh, true.
The Toyota Tacoma is not the same platform they sell here as they sell in Australia. That's changing with
Yeah.
the new model, but this Ranger is this is a global. My point is, this is a global platform, unlike some of the others. I guess you could argue the Gladiator is a global platform as well because that's also available in Australia. So, um,
Yeah. The only thing about that though is that what we've learned over, our lives of messing with cars and being obsessed with them is that generally speaking, if it's a global platform, it's going to be pretty darn good because it has to appease so many people, not just one corner of the world. Like think of the BMW 3 Series, world renowned as the ultimate driving machine for a very long time. And that's because I had to work everywhere and be good at that. I had to be good at Germany and also be good here. And just things like that. Jeeps have been worldwide for a long time. Hiluxes, until the Tacoma split with the Hilux, was a very well renowned thing. Your Land Cruiser, Craig, all the Land Cruisers, they're world cars. World cars generally just are held to a really high standard and do very well at what they need to do. The Ranger's no different.
yeah, and you're right. And what happens? Not only does it have to meet all these markets and demands, they also have to be proven and reliable because they are going to be in all these markets. And what it also means is engines and parts and things you need to do to repair and keep it running are available because they made so many of them is what happens. And so that
Yeah.
helps with cost of ownership down the road and keeping it running. So anyways,
Yeah, great truck.
Brian,
Love it.
yep, great truck. Yeah, it's old, it's ancient, but it's there, and we cannot wait to get our hands on the Ford Ranger. Brian, the battle of 2024 is going to be the Tacoma versus the Ranger, and I
Oh my
cannot wait.
gosh. I just let's go, dude. It's gonna be great. It's
That's
gonna be
just going to be
great.
a lot of fun, man, because everything else is kind of new out there or has already come out. This is the last thing, and that's going to be so much fun.
Look, I
With the,
kind of before we move on, I would on that point, I kind of as far as our channel goes, not just our podcast, as far as our channel goes, I feel like we're in a holding pattern until one of those shake loose and land in the driveway. I think that's gonna be
yeah,
like such a big deal for the year, I think. It's gonna be awesome. Can't wait.
absolutely. All right, Brian, let's move on to number one. What could it be? It's not a Toyota, it's not a Nissan. Number five was Colorado. Number four was Silverado 2500. Three Gladiator, two Ranger. Right now, it leaves one vehicle left. It's the best selling vehicle basically in the world.
Just about.
Shocker.
Yep,
F
yep.
150. Ford
Yeah,
F
yeah.
150 makes the
Yep, yep,
list.
yep, yep, yep.
It's on another number one list. It it just does so many things. Brian, I'll let you get into that. Why did we put F 150 here?
Well, man, there's just so many reasons. This might take another 3 hours, so if you need to take a bathroom break or intermission, that's fine. Look, it's the versatility. I think that's the main reason that we landed here because you and I just want to part of our list that we were arguing about was you were pushing for the Lightning and how groundbreaking that was to bring out a vehicle that looked like a gas truck. It functioned like a gas truck in terms of like seating and occupants and that kind of stuff. But it was electric for the masses. Even though it had some hiccups, the whole world's had hiccups because of COVID. It's a pretty viable product. And I'm sitting here going, hello, Raptor R, best truck ever made. I'll fight me for that. Put it on my headstone. Best truck ever made forever and for always, Raptor R. Um, and then we were sitting there bickering and we realized that, well, it's just the 150, isn't it? That's the answer. It's the 150
hmm
because not only does it do those two bookends that are incredible in their own way, and by the way, are kind of crazy with completely different powertrains and objectives and goals. And they both
hmm
end up being a hoot. The Raptor is a little bit faster, just so you know, but barely. Um, it's pretty impressive. Now, everything left in the middle is really why it won, because it is the backbone of this country in so many ways. It's a cop car, it's a utility truck, it's a family hauler, it's a weekend camper, it's a boat tower, it's a Home Depot run. It's just everything for so many. And it's really good at it. And I just want to tease a little bit. We filmed this past weekend. We filmed a Coyote powered 5 liter V8 pickup truck, F 150, and another pickup. And you and I both got out and said, gosh, Ford knows how to make a truck. They've got the ergo figured out. They've got the placement of things figured out. They've got a ton of features. Um, we get out of GM products and we go, man, that's a really good truck, but it's not trying that hard. It's kind of sticking to what it's best at and leaving it there. Toyota is really good at reliability. They're not going to cut the edge and lead anything, but they're going to be reliable for a real long time, even if they're a little bit late to the party. Ford goes, what do our people need to do with this truck? let's go test that, let's figure it out, and let's try and invent some things. Sometimes it's cheesy, sometimes it's not perfect, but it usually drives the market forward, kind of like a Mercedes S Class has for so long in the luxury car market. The F 150 has been that for the midsize, I'm sorry, for the full size pickup truck market. So there's all that. The real reason why is a Raptor R is a freaking hoot in a handbasket. I am in love with that thing. It will drift, it will jump. It is extremely, extremely comfortable. The only thing it's bad at is fuel economy, and I can handle that because it sounds like you're a big fan of the Lightning, and that offsets it, right?
Well, not really, but yes, that could be the case. The other thing, Brian, is let's just sit on that Raptor R for a minute. We did drive a TRX before someone says, "Well, did you drive the TRX? You drive the TRX?
Oh,
Drive
of
the TRX?
course.
It makes
We
more
drove it
horsepower.
the
It makes more
week
horsepower."
before or the week after. We drove it the week after it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we literally had them back to back, and here's what we kept running into. Again, Ford goes, "What's our customer going to want to do with this high-powered off-road vehicle? Maybe donuts? I don't know."
Yes. Thank
Guess
you.
what you can't do in the TRX? A donut. Like,
Donuts.
it's
Yeah.
just it's insane that Ram missed the boat on that. They
Ugh,
blew it. I'll just tell you, they blew it. It's incredibly
it's
a
ignorant.
huge miss, and I'm
It's
surprised more magazines and outlets don't call them out on that because
yeah.
it's a crime. Um,
Well, we did, and we actually took it to their reps at an event, and I think we were both in the room, Craig, and I flat
mhm.
out asked him, "Hey, why can't you do donuts in it?" He's like, "Well, there's not really an engineering objective for that." I was like, "I understand that, but why can't you do donuts in it?" He's like, "Well, the Raptor doesn't let you do donuts." I'm like, "No, no, it does. It lets you do donuts."
Yeah, you
And
just put it in
he
two-wheel drive.
you just put it in two-wheel
Simple.
drive and you do a donut. Or if you want to,
Yeah,
lock the diff and then do a donut.
yeah,
It has 37s. Do the donut. Doesn't just do the
yeah,
freaking donut. It's fine.
yeah.
We'll let you do that. Um, he first of all was surprised to hear that. I don't think he knew that. And then second of all, he said, "Well, I don't know that the only objective performance game would be just to do a donut." I was like, "Yeah, that's what I said. The donut. That's the
That's
or it's
exactly
a
it.
you heard me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, or burnout. Sorry, Hellcats need to do burnouts. So I think Ram's
Yeah.
solution to this was just to not make Hellcats anymore. Apparently. So good job, Ford.
Yeah, and now Raptor R for 2024 makes a little bit more power. Does beat the TRX now, technically
Yep.
on paper. So there's
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
But
Oh, by the
Brian,
way, do you know how they did that? That extra 20
hmm,
horsepower?
how's that?
They just dynoed it again.
Okay, very
That
good.
was
I
it.
believe it.
Yeah, it made it the whole time.
Um, what's funny, Brian? Yeah, let's go back to the vehicles in the middle though, because it's
Yeah,
unbelievable what you can get there. I'll just start with the Eco Beast, the 3.5. That sucker makes
sure.
so much power now, just right out of the box. Um, Stupid quick, can be fuel efficient if you want it to be,
Mhm.
makes fun noises, gives you that surge of boost if you're in a hilly terrain or whatever.
Or elevation.
It's intoxicating and you just want to just dip into it all the time. There's that as one of your options. You can get the power boost where you can actually run a welder off a plug in the back of your truck. Like, oh, again, what do truck people want to do? Run welders. Yeah, you can do that. You
Mhm.
could power your home in Texas if you want to. You could also run, thankfully, it's still there. And we tested it the other day, like you said, the 5-liter Coyote V8. And here's the reason to get that, other than it's just stupid quick and it's a V8 as all trucks should be. Brian, when I was filming you doing the 0 to 60 run, I get um, the privilege of getting to hear these vehicles under load and wide open acceleration, which is great because you get to hear all the little different engines and the noises they make. This is the best sounding vehicle I have heard us do on a 0 to 60 run, period. I
That's
kid you not.
that's wild to me because we've had some bangers of cars. We've had
We have.
turbo BMWs, we've had Corvettes, we've had Mustangs and Supras and Miatas and Corolla GRs. And look, I played back the footage that you filmed a few nights ago. You're right. That thing sounds incredible. Incredible. Unreal.
It's just that alone should give it some sort of award. And so here you go. It's number one on our list. You're
Okay, all
welcome.
right. Look, we're a consumer advice place. We have to bring some other stuff back. There's two other engines available. There's also the natural aspirated V6, which is very affordable and very competent. It's making more power than the V8s we grew up in. And then there's also the 2.7 V6. While it's not without its recalls, it is a Rip River motor that gets incredible fuel economy. Look, if you just want a pickup truck and you don't care about noise, those are cheap too. You can get into one of those for like 35 for a four-door two-wheel drive one that has
Yeah.
good mid-range features. Like, man, it just like you said, there's an F-150 for everybody. You know, you don't have to spend 110 grand on one. You can get one for Camry money if you want to. So, bravo.
Yeah, and so Brian, that's our list. Again, our list is kind of remind people that haven't listened to the other list. These are vehicles we would personally recommend, not just for us to buy, but personally recommend for other people to buy, knowing that they would own it long term and actually enjoy the experience. I don't think there's any of the vehicles on this list you could buy. If you buy any of these, I think you're going to be pleased. You're going to be happy. You're not going to have any weird things come up that
Yeah,
make you mad, like the Nissan Frontier back seat or a Toyota Tundra weird mirror issue or overheating issue going up a hill. It's just Toyota's going to work it out. I know they are Toyota
they are.
fanboys. Don't
They
beat me
are.
up.
Yeah,
I'm
don't beat
on
us
your
up.
team. Okay. But the vehicles we have on this list are dialed. They're sorted. These manufacturers got them figured out, and you're just going to enjoy the experience, and that's why they're on there and why they're in the order they are. So
Totally. Totally agree. Anyone wants to fight us about this, you can find us on YouTube. We are Texas Truck Channel. We're happy to duke it out in the comment stream there. And the good news is we've reviewed every single vehicle on this list. So if you want to check it out and see it, do 0 to 60 runs or go through mud or whatever, we've got it. You can check it out there.
that's it. And with that, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.